Perfect. We are live. And today we have a very unique session, kind of Q&A, kind of vibe coding, not vibe coding, but vibe exploring the Flare ecosystem, specifically the wallets. Why the wallets? Because we do have a bunch of people that are coming to Flare from different ecosystems, and they want to know what is the best alternative, how to get the most out of the rewards, all that kind of details. So today, I'm super excited to be here on this panel with Sarah from Flare and our friends from Flare Forward. We have Ace, Whale, and Steven. What you can see right now on the screen is the website of Flare. And before we get started, I just want to make sure I am sharing all the relevant information in terms of disclaimer. So there is a UK disclaimer page now. As you can see here, this communication is not intended for and should not be acted upon by any person in the United Kingdom. Don't get confused about this. These are just legal requirements that we just need to follow, right? Aside from that, none of the information that you're going to be seeing today is financial advice in any sort of way. We're just going to be exploring the ecosystem and playing around with different wallets and sharing our perspectives on this topic. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, if you go to the website here on Flare, just check here. It's not changing here for some reason. You guys can see that it changed the
Yep.
tab, right?
Yep.
Because on my end, now it's showing. Okay, if you go here to I think products or participate, you will find the first information here about our learning center, and you can find most of the relevant information, I would say. You will find a list of wallets. You will find on and off ramp solutions. You will find how to get Flare drops, how to delegate and stake, how to vote, what is our Flare portal. And, if you're interested in the tech, which of course I am, you might want to check out the white paper. So if you click here on wallets, you will find a list of wallets that are both hardware wallets and software wallets. Some of them can be, let's say, recommended depending on the type of user you are. On my side, as a, I would say, very standard user, I mostly use software wallets, self custody. On the development side, I use MetaMask. And then for most of my EVM interactions, I use Ravi wallet, which is not on this list. So, this is one of the reasons we wanted to have this live stream so that, we're all on the same page and we can discuss which alternative is best for us and why, right? So up to here, Ace, Whale, Steven, Sarah, all good. Do you guys have any preference when it comes to wallets?
Um, I actually stick with like the Bifrost wallet. I mean, it was the first wallet to really support the Flare network, starting with Songbird. But as I discuss with people who are onboarding to Web3, especially with Flare, I tend to discuss Oxenflow with them for more simplistic interactions, just to keep things simple.
Okay, so here I have already a few questions. So I was checking out the website from Bifrost, and then if I scroll down, I will find Oxenflow. I think this is the other one that you mentioned, right?
Hmm.
Um, so first of all, what was kind of the issue when I just got started on Flare and with these wallets is that, most of them are focused on being mobile wallets first. And I like to stay on my browser on my laptop, right? So for those who want to use that alternative, you can still do that. You just have to make sure that you use Wallet Connect. I don't know if we're going to have time to cover that in detail today, but essentially, it's super simple. You will find when you try to connect to an application, let's say, for instance, here on the Flare portal, when you connect your wallet, you will have this option for Wallet Connect. Then you will go to your phone, scan a QR code, and then you will link that account, and it's going to be fairly simple, I would say, and then you're good to go, right? So actually, right now, this wallet right here is from Bifrost and is from mobile. Now, my question to you is about this is, okay, you mentioned that Oxenflow can be a little bit more easy to navigate. Can you
Mhm.
elaborate on why? Why is that?
Yeah, so at least with my interactions with people who are new to Web3, they don't really understand the concept of dApps and the fact that you can just go to those websites or those URLs. So keeping things all within the same wallet without having to go into a web browser or a simulated web browser, I guess you could say, tends to help with the onboarding experience. The only I guess you could say barrier is sometimes if you're on Android, then obviously you can't use Oxenflow for right now, but hopefully that is addressed soon. But yeah, I mean it's a simpler wallet. They don't have to really understand the concept of dApps. If you actually have used Oxenflow, you go to their Earn tab and you can kind of put your assets to work immediately. Delegations are pretty simple and easy, straightforward. There's still some things that need to be built out in Oxenflow, but for the most part, for simplicity, I tend to recommend Oxenflow for new users in Web3.
Got
Yeah,
it. That's super interesting. Go ahead, Steven.
yeah, I was gonna say like when I talk to Oxenflow, I love Nick. That's my grandma's wallet. Like my grandma, grandpa. Hey guys, if you guys want to get into crypto, this is your wallet. It's got quick, easy on ramp, off ramp. You don't have to worry about your gas or anything else because it's automated, right? So if you wrap 100% of your Flare and you want to send some somewhere for some reason, you don't have to think about anything. It is the use case where you don't have to realize you're interacting with blockchain and earn a nice yield on it. So, like Ace said, like if I talk to anybody and they're in the simple form, uh, they're not interested in really all the I gotta what's the address and I gotta scan the QR code and they just want to earn a yield. That's the
Hmm,
wallet I suggest. It no
got it.
complexity, it's super beautiful.
So if I get it correctly, one quickly way to get onboarded and get started on Flare is just try and get Oxen Wallet and get the yield, right? Go for that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say so. Plus, the wallet creation process is probably the most simple I've seen in the space up to this point. So that's another thing that really makes new users hesitant is, oh, I got to keep up with a seed phrase. I have to. What do you mean by creating a wallet? All these other things. Oxenflow really makes all that stuff really simple and straightforward. So.
Got it.
So
That's cool. Will,
Luminite
go ahead.
from Spartex, from the creators of Spartex, are having a similar approach. With you can log in with an email, and then I think you have a TEE on your device that keeps it secure. And then they have a very similar approach where you can do everything with one click. It's super simple. And me personally, I mean, I consider myself a power user, so I rather have more control on what's going on. But I understand that not everybody has like the time to learn and try things out. So I think that there's always a wallet for every kind of user, from the very beginner to somebody that it's very advanced and needs every kind of control that they can have.
So Will, let me clarify on that. It's just that since as a DevRel, sometimes I have to test dApps, right? So since I work at Flare, I get to test some of the dApps before they go live. So in the case of Luminite, I actually have seen the user interface and have tested a few things, and I can tell it's really, really nice. I really like it. It's super simple. I think it's going to be, a very good product. But I was wondering, in your case, what kind of interaction, or is this like based on the maybe some of the content that they have shown?
No,
Where are you reading?
I'm also a beta tester, so I've used
Uh-huh.
the app. I broke it right away. Sent some fixes. They fixed it. They sent me another version, and like we're there. And just like that quality assessment, the Q&A, QA, it's quality assessment, no? So that's
Yeah,
where we are
Got
right
it.
now.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that that's much needed.
quality assurance.
Go ahead, Steven.
No, I was telling well, quality assurance, quality assurance.
Quality assurance. That's correct.
Yeah, and speaking about quality assurance, maybe I should kind of stop sharing my screen and ask you, well, to share yours so that maybe you can ex not explain because I think that okay, maybe yeah, maybe we do have some people that still need to learn about the Flare portal, but I'm more interested in learning your perspective as a user on how you're utilizing this, if you're utilizing this, because I can imagine that if you have Oxenflow, for instance, some of these functionalities might not be useful for you.
Yeah. So what exactly do you want me to share?
Well, I'm sharing your screen now. You have here the DeFi tracker, but my question is related to the use of the Flare portal and how you guys are interacting with this and what kind of wallets are you using and what are like your recommendations for new users and what are your recommendations for more experienced users.
Okay, hold on. Let me share my window.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't change the tab. There it is. All right, so let's go to portal.flare. Let me unlock my Rabi. I don't think you can see my Rabi right now, right? Can you?
Nope.
We can't. I mean, we can only see it on the top of the
Yeah.
web browser.
So that's a security measure which I actually like. It's kind of hard to do demos with it, but it's good because like if you are working with somebody on Zoom and you need to do something on your Rabi, that person cannot see what's going on your Rabi. So it's a security measure which I like. Um, I personally use Rabi on my browser with a Trezor, and then I have this wallet connected to my like daily phone. So I've been using my main wallets are Bifrost and Rabi. The one thing that I don't like about Rabi is that it does not support XRP. So for using XRP-Fi, like we're gonna need Rabi or Bifrost at least to onboard bridge XRP to Flare, and then I could potentially send it to Rabi and use it from there. I have found that Bifrost is really nice, but sometimes the upgrades in the wallet create a little bit of issues with the apps. I don't understand why that happens, but that is something that I see all the time. And Rabi, I just like the more I use it, the happier that I am. And I think Rabi, it's a connection from MetaMask, like it's like a fork from MetaMask, and they change a little bit of things. And then you can see all your DeFi stuff. I wish I could show you here, but you can see like everything. I think Rabi is connected to DBank. I don't know if you guys have ever used DBank. But you can see everything that's going on, and you have full control. When you sign a transaction, you can set the limit, authorize the limit for using each app, which you cannot do on Bifrost. So, like I said, I think that those are two really good wallets. It just kind of depends on how. I feel like most wallets are overkill for most people because they would use very little part. Yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else you want me to show here?
Yeah, I want to jump in real quick. You were talking about upgrades and issues, and for instance, like I'm big on Cyclo, and there's some kind of glitch with the Bifrost wallet when you mint the S Flare in it. It doesn't populate into the Cyclo finance token, so literally you can't unmint it from your Bifrost wallet. So I had to send all my minted NFTs of my Cyclo positions to my Rabi wallet so I can unwind it. So those are kind of like some of the things that it's especially companies like, let's say it's a Bifrost issue because Rabi's working just fine on Cyclo, you're not going to get fixed very fast. And so that's kind of the advantage and disadvantage of Bifrost for sure.
I can do a little demo of like I have some USDC on my Tipjar wallet, so I can swap it to USDTC using Spartex and then lend it on Kinetic. That could be a super, like just to show you how fast Flare is and with the wallet. So I'm gonna press swap, confirm. This is live. There's a pop-up in my Rabi wallet. I'm gonna sign it, confirm, and then that's it. And then I go to Kinetic, supply and borrow. I'm gonna choose USDT 0. Guess I need to refresh this. Oh, by the way, the guys at Kinetic, they have a function now that if the operation fails, you just press retry, and then it works right away. Like before, it would go back to your main wallet, and then you had to like start the operation again. And I'm really happy that they have that. So if the transaction failed for whatever reason, you just press retry and then it works right away. It's amazing.
So one quick question though on that API that I can see on the screen, which says 6.3%. So this is for supplying USDT zero, and is this paid on stables or on Flare?
So yeah, what's happening there is that I have some Flare lent, and right now I supplied some USDT zero, but then I'm paying big API on the USDC or the stable coins that I'm borrowing. So even though I have more, the API for this is more. In this case, I am paying 17% for having USDC, and here I'm paying 7.42. This is in stable coins. If I go here, I can see that the supply API, I'm getting 3% in USDT zero, but I'm getting 25% on reward Flare, which is really nice, because one thing that I've told people is how you can indirectly invest in Flare just by bringing assets that are probably on a cold wallet. So like a friend of mine, he brought some ETH to Flare like a year ago, and he was getting 50-60% APR on Flare. So if you think that Flare is a good investment, you don't necessarily have to get rid of your old assets to invest in Flare, which is really amazing. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah, and you can kind of do the same by LPing on Spardex, right? So for instance, if you have a bunch of stable coins, you can park that there and get some nice rewards on Flare. Not sure if we can go over that flow, but the opportunities are there. If you click there on farm, you will see a bunch of pools that you can be rewarded by participating. Yeah, some of them are on tokens that are from the ecosystem, but others are in stable coins, which I think is quite nice. Is this something that you guys are actively utilizing as well, or are you guys more on the side of borrowing and lending with Kinetic?
So what I've been doing is and this is a good example. I'm borrowing USDT at 7.42% APR, and then if I go here, I am in this stablecoin pool, which the total price doesn't really change much, and I'm making 51%. So I'm paying 7, and I'm making 54. So that's really the important thing. So my strategy is that I have my capital, like my long-term back, and then I use that capital to take some money out, and then I LP or I trade with this capital, and then I don't have to touch this. So this is like my long-term investment, and this is my short-term investment.
Oh, super nice.
Yeah. So with XRP, that's going to be a beautiful thing. That now I have my Flare plus my XRP that is going to increase the amount of capital that I have available as collateral for having. Like, think about this like taking a loan on a property, and then you have that money and then you invest that on a business. That's the same approach that we have for DeFi. I have my assets, I take a loan on them, and then I use this capital for investing or doing business, which is DeFi.
Yeah, like a good friend of mine also noticed that now on Kinetic, when you try to borrow and then you have that issue, the retry, that was a really nice feature add. And also they were able to use their borrowed money to put that into the Spark token IPO. So that exceeds the borrowing rate, then they'd be able to potentially pocket a nice return. But I just wanted to take a moment to take a step back, because we're going over some really nice things on how you can utilize DeFi. But let's say for the user that gets onboarded to Flare via Oxenflow, how would you kind of map out a path for them to take so that they could become, like you said, a power user like yourself? Would you suggest that they start with Oxenflow and then shift over to Bifrost? Or I'm wondering, with the surfacing of more wallets like Whale, you said you'd use Luminite. What is kind of this path that you would set out for someone to work their way up into being more comfortable using DeFi? And what would be the wallets and tools that you suggest that they have at their disposal for this?
Yeah, yesterday I had a one-on-one call, and the client was telling me that he wanted to do more. And I was like, okay, how many hours would you like to spend on DeFi a week or a month? Because some people might only have like, hey, I don't want to check that. I want to spend 1 hour a month. So for them, I think that Luminite or Oxenflow would be a great option, because that means that they don't have to do much managing. It's more of a long-term play where you supply some assets, you're getting some APR, and then you just log in once a month and you collect your rewards. If somebody wanted to spend, I feel like if you spend 3 hours a week, you could be like increasing your skills until at some point you feel more comfortable. Because unfortunately, I see that a lot of people are learning, but they don't practice. And the problem is that it's kind of like pilots. They say that the flight hours are super important. And for DeFi, is the same. Like ultimately, making mistakes is what's going to make the lesson like luck.
Mhm.
So sometimes you have to learn some and then you have to practice, see the results, see the consequences of your actions, learn from those. And then the knowledge that you're like, what you're learning and what you're practicing is how it connects.
I think I'll add in one other piece of that is what tool you want to operate off of, right? So if you're going to operate, off your phone, then I would suggest, if you're taking that next stage, like Whale said, we're going to spend 3 hours a day. Bifrost is a very good wallet for that, for your phone. If you're going to spend that same time, but you're going to do it from a computer, I would be all about Rabi. Like 100% Rabi would be my choice if I was being computer orientated. If it's phone, it's Bifrost. And that really what, for me, dictates how I use and what I use wallets for.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think that actually ties in quite well into the follow-up question I was going to have, just because you're bringing up some personal experiences. Wow, Stephen, you're really popular. A lot of text messages coming through. But I just wanted to ask, based off your personal experience, where do you find most people are using DeFi? Are they using it on their phones? Are they using it on their browsers? Just because I also noticed it was actually Lex from Scepter that when he was walking through all these different dApps on his browser, I noticed that the UI was so much better and intuitive. So now I use Bifrost on my phone and I just use Wallet Connect and I use all the dApps on my browser because it's like an incomparable experience. Everything is so much smoother and nicer and like easy to comprehend. So I wanted to ask you guys if, from your experience, most people are just kind of more stubborn and continue to use it on their phone, or if people actually prefer their browser. Because I think this is some useful feedback that maybe, who knows, if enough people ask Bifrost, they'll
Do a web browser wallet. Yeah. No, I mean, I'll probably kick this one off. But when people ask me how to get started, the number one question is, can I do all this from my phone? And I get it for the convenience. People have their phones in their hands more than anything, so they're more comfortable with that form factor, at least in my experience, than they would on a laptop. I mean, obviously, that's just my interactions. When I actually start talking with people who are already crypto native, they're good with whatever, and some prefer that more desktop experience because of, like you said, the simplicity. The different integrations that desktops already have. So crypto native people like the desktop probably more, but they're also comfortable with mobile solutions. But those who aren't crypto native, who are trying to get their feet wet, essentially, they always ask me, can I do this from my phone? I don't have a laptop, or I don't want to have to carry my laptop around, or if something were to happen in the markets, I want to be able to quickly get to my assets. Can I do all of this from my phone? So that's probably the first question I get. Don't know what Well or Steven's experience is, but I would say the people who are needing to be onboarded, mobile devices for sure.
Okay, I definitely love this. So I just had a recent experience. Like, I'm big on using Cyclofinance, right? And so when I do it for my Bifrost wallet, this is the steps I have to take. So I have to go to Cyclofinance in my Bifrost wallet, mint it, go out of that, go into the SparkDex option, swap the CY tokens for the back. If I'm going to loop, I have to swap the CY tokens back to SFlare and then go back to it's a very complex back and forth inside a wallet that sometimes, because the UIs are not that great too, you can have lots of fails and you got to close it out and then you got to start it all over. So going through your wallet from a phone can be very, very difficult versus Rabi, where I just click, boom, and it just works so well on Rabi versus Bifrost. So the phone experience is a lot more convoluted, a lot more steps, and can be a little bit more irritating versus using a browser connect like Rabi, where everything can stay open, it's connected, and it's super smooth.
Well, Rabi has tabs on the mobile app. You can actually have different apps open at the same time, and you just swap like if it was like your browser wallets. So you could, Steven was saying, you can have like your Cyclo tab and then move to Rabi and then back, and it's super easy. That's a feature that I wish Bifrost had as well. Coming back to what Sarah was saying, I would definitely recommend that if you're learning, learn on a computer. Like once you know what you're doing, you can work completely on your phone. But the real estate that you have with a big screen, like it's going to make your life so much easier because like the more data that you have, the easier it is to make decisions. And when you have a phone, you have a very limited amount of data that you can see at one time.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And one thing that, makes thing like for me, life is much more easy when I'm dealing with the Explorer and I'm checking things there, right? But I know that that's kind of too much maybe to ask for a new user that is, new to crypto and whatever. But it really that's the main thing because that's the how you access the data from the blockchain and you can see absolutely everything, right? So spending some time trying to learn that, I think for me personally it has paid off like big. And I think that you know you don't that's the main thing about crypto is you don't need to trust, you can verify. And one way to do that is looking at the Explorer. In the case of Flare, we do have two Explorer that you can use, plus we have another Explorer which is for the protocols themselves. That's another story. But yeah, anyways, I think that we can maybe try and cover some questions that people might have. We have almost 2,000 people watching this live.
I got a
Shout out
question
to
for you
you guys. Go ahead.
All right. So me and Whale were having this conversation earlier, and I'd like to know what you guys think. The wallet, the XRP wallet, XAMAN. How would you pronounce that, Victor?
Which wallet, sorry?
The
Talking about Zaman?
XAMAN.
Oh, salmon. Yeah,
Zaman?
that's how
How
I
would you
would.
pronounce
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, probably I'm a bad person to ask that because I'm, from Chile. I speak Spanish, so
Well, that's
it's
why
kind
I'm
of
I'm getting a perspective.
yeah. But why?
One last thing I would
Yeah,
like
go ahead.
One last thing I would like to say before we continue. I think that one thing that is very important is that one risk factor is when you connect to dApps. If you have the right link, it's fine, but there's a lot of scam sites. So what I would recommend is that you separate your assets that you have like for the long term. Like if you have some Bitcoin or XRP that right now are not doing anything, I would have those in a different wallet and I would have a DeFi specific wallet. So that's one thing that I would say. So you can have like your cold storage for like long-term holding, and then you have maybe a cold storage or a crypto-only phone that is no SIM card. It doesn't connect to public Wi-Fi's, and you don't have any other app other than your crypto stuff. And then you can have your hot wallet on your daily phone for like quick operations. But anyways, for example, I have my phone. If I withdraw some assets, I send it to my phone. I do my trading, whatever I need to do, and then it goes back into cold storage. So I try to do as minimum operations on my like the safer it is, I try to use that app or that wallet the least possible.
Right. And yeah, I agree with that. And the problem is that when you start doing that, for a lot of users, they kind of lose the flow in the sense that right now I have more wallets that I can control, to be honest. So I have wallets that I only use for testing, right? dApps. I have wallets that I only use for development stuff. Like that's the separate thing. And I have wallets that I only store assets, wallets that only receive payments, wallets that only move, you know, do transfer between point A and point B, because I just know that everything you can track everything on the blockchain. So I want to make sure that when people go and watch, they can see specific actions and not everything and whatever. So it can become like really, really complicated. And maybe this is a good question to ask to Sarah about like her experience when you got on board to Flare and how you're currently managing that.
It's a good question. I was actually going to ask everyone to maybe after this, they can go over their own personal stacks and how they manage this. But I was first introduced to Bifrost just because what appealed to me the most at the time was the ability to bookmark all the dApps, just because a big thing that I was concerned about was security. And like, I didn't want to be a grandma that, I don't know, ends up putting her life savings in some scam. So started using Bifrost, and then as I got hired by Flare, I realized, well, I would actually benefit from having cold storage somewhere where my Flare could just sit like securely and I wouldn't have to stress about it. And the only way that I would be able to access it would be through my biometrics. So I have a Decent for that. It's not the prettiest, but it does the job. It requests the prompts for my fingerprint, and then I could still manage everything from within an app on my phone, which, following the whole phone discussion, it's very useful to have everything at like your fingertips every day. And I also have a Rabby, which I like, but I only use it to send things from point A to point B. But now, after hearing all the positive feedback, I'm going to look into it a bit more for using dApps, since you guys seem to have such a positive experience with it, because I do have it on my browser, so it would help speed things along. But that's kind of my stack and the flow of how I built out the different wallets that I have. Wondering if you guys had a similar experience or maybe went about it a different way.
So, Victor, I love that. This is awesome. One of the things, we obviously built our DeFi tracker, right? And one of the things we found out, we took a poll, and majority of people use more than 5 wallets. And my goodness, you can lose track of how much money you have in each wallet. So one of the things we did is we have a free opportunity inside our app where you can put all your wallet information in there and then track all the wallets for free. Right? No cost, doesn't cost you anything. You come in, and then if you got 10 wallets, you can track all the wallets, the assets in each wallet, and what's going on, and have an understanding of your full portfolio than trying to kind of guess at it. So I use it religiously. I didn't know how much money I had in crypto until we put it all together, and I was actually rather shocked after a while.
Yeah, I mean, I follow a similar path as Sarah, I guess maybe a little different. My daily driver for DeFi purposes is my Bifrost wallet. But for more of my like long-term assets that I just do not touch at all, it's on a cold storage wallet. I'm not as complex as Victor, but I definitely understand needing wallets for different reasons. When I've dabbled in trying to develop for Web3, I have wallets that are specific for development, but I don't have wallets specific for sending or receiving payments. I probably would just use my daily driver wallet for that. But yeah, I try to keep my wallets between that 3 to 5, because kind of like what Steven said, I mean, you can lose track pretty quickly, but obviously with the DeFi tracker, being able to track all your wallets makes things hell of a lot easier than what it was before. So
Yeah, actually, the DeFi tracker is a good thing that you bring up, just because I realized I forgot to mention that I also have an Ox and Flow wallet. So maybe a DeFi tracker would have reminded me that I have one.
Right.
But part of the only reason why I have it was, one, to test it out, but also so that whenever I just start talking with someone, I don't know, just like a stranger on a soccer field or something, and I could show them how easy it is to get into crypto and DeFi. It's one thing to show them, it's another thing to say it to them. So I just have it there, like ready to whip it out, like it's my weapon, and I show them like, this is what you're missing out on. And I've actually like sent a couple strangers Flare. So the wallet for that.
Nice.
So, guys, I have a question about like XRP and wallets when we want to, navigate XRP5. Right now, I have here on the screen the MetaMask Snaps extension for the XRP ledger. I just remember about this because I actually enabled this in the past, and you know what happened is that it worked well. I did some tests, I sent some money, and then I forgot where do I have, like, how do I get access to this? So I'm curious to know how is it that you guys are navigating this? Because then, of course, then it becomes like clear that Bifrost is probably one of the main options right now to navigate Flare and XRP. But I'm very curious to know, like, how are you guys dealing on with this on a daily basis?
Yeah, so for me, I keep my XRP on a cold storage until XRP-Fi is fully live on Flare, which by then I'll probably move some over to my Bifrost wallet or something like that, just for simplicity. But yeah, I mean, I haven't really tried out the MetaMask extension. I was definitely excited when it was announced or released, and then of course, if you're familiar with the XRPL and that ecosystem, the Zaman wallet has been a staple for a very long time. So a lot of people tend to elect to use that as well. But for me personally, I keep it mostly on a cold storage, and then I plan to move some over to one of my daily driver wallets when XRP-Fi is launched and ready to go.
One thing it's important is to say that, like, XRP to Flare is going to be like a one-time operation, and then once you have it FXRP on Flare, you could move it to your Ravi or whatever wallet, even if it doesn't support XRP. So that's just for like the bridge. Once you have FXRP, that acts as any other EVM token that can be moved within the EVM ecosystem.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I really love EVM, and but I was wondering about like this wallet, Salmon wallet, and are people using this on Flare, or is mostly for people that are on the XRP side? I
It's
don't know. If, go
it's
ahead.
mostly for the
It's
XRP
only
side.
XRP.
Yeah, yeah. There's really no usage from a Flare perspective for the Zaman wallet. But if you're strictly in the XRP ecosystem, this is probably like the Bifrost of the XRPL, if you will.
But they don't have any support for any EVM chain.
No, no.
I'm pretty sure.
But with the EVM sidechain, I would not be surprised if they have it soon.
Right.
And once they have that enabled, they would be able to enable Flare as well.
I'm pretty sure that they're gonna enable Flare at some point.
At some point.
Yeah, it's just a natural extension. It just makes sense. Um, but yeah. Anyway,
Hey, Victor. So somebody in the comments said that they never got the remaining 85% of their Flare. Can you show my screen? Like Ace and me made a video, and I want to share some insights in there.
let's do that because I don't know exactly what they're talking about.
Perfect. All right. So Ace and me made a video the other day just talking about like what would have happened if you had bought $1,000 of Flare exactly 1 year ago. And then the price moved like 20% yesterday. But when we made the video, it was like almost the same price as 1 year ago. So if you just held on an exchange or a ledger and you didn't delegate or get the Flare drops, you would have pretty much the same amount. Like from 49,000 Flare, you would have $1,000. If you did delegation plus Flare drops, which is around the 40% compound, you would have had 83,000 Flare after 1 year, which would be worth $1,700. If you do delegation plus basic DeFi, which is what you can do on Luminite or Oxenflow, which is like stake or lend some assets, you would get around 60%. So you would have doubled over 1 year. You would have doubled your holdings. And then if you did more advanced stuff like liquidity pools and like maybe looping and everything, you would have done like 137%. So this is a very important thing. Like I feel like a lot of people might be upset because they didn't pay attention and they're missing out on the rewards. But I just want to say how generous and how fortunate we are to have this opportunity. Kinetic just said that they're going to stop doing. You need to the threads. You need to wrap your Flare so you can delegate and get your Flare drops. I don't know if you can listen to me. So just like Kinetic was saying that they're going to remove the incentives for borrowing assets. Like I can see this in a few years looking back when they were paying us to borrow money. And I think that that's going to be an incredible opportunity that people are going to like miss out on.
Right. And maybe we should actually try and take it a step back because with all the different ways that people have to kind of earn something on Flare just by being on Flare, I think that, on one side, the expectations are kind of mismatched. On the other side, people do get confused realistically. So regarding this question that this user asked, can you provide more context about like what is really the issue and what was the action that he should have taken?
Yes, of course. So when you got the first airdrop from your XRP, you got Flare, which is FLR only.
Okay, and
so the only condition.
one question already there. Sorry to interrupt, but okay, where did you have to have like your XRP? Is it like on your wallet or an exchange or what?
So yeah, that was part of the problem that a lot of people had their XRP on exchanges, And because Flare could not guarantee that those exchange users were going to get the Flare drops over the next 36 months, there was a Flare proposal to change it that if you wrap and delegate your Flare, or well, if you wrap them, then you are entitled for that distribution, which has been going on almost for what, like 30 months now, something like
Okay.
that, 31 months.
Okay.
So yeah, so the only thing that you had to do is when you get your Flare on a EVM wallet, which is what we're talking about, you needed to wrap it, and then if on top of wrapping it you delegate, you get a little bit extra
Of
yield
course.
every single
Of
month.
course.
And then over the period of 1 month, there are 3 random snapshots, and then the average of those snapshots are what give you the entitlement for the Flare distribution, which is the FlareDrops. So if you go here to Flare, which this is gas. The difference between Flare and wrap Flare, Flare is just a gas for the chain to
Operations,
work.
yeah.
And when you wrap your Flare, this becomes a smart contract compatible token. So that's why once you convert Flare into wrap Flare, which you do here, you press wrap and say, okay, well, I'm going to wrap 1. I'm going to sign the transaction. And then that Flare that now it's wrap Flare, I can delegate it to some FTSO providers.
Right.
If you send me a message on X, I'm happy to guide you. I have some videos on doing that. But this was the conditions that were made for people to receive their Flare drops, which has been around 40 to 50% returns per year. This is distribution.
It's insane. It's insane. Let me tell you that.
It's insane.
But I don't see that you see this on many other chains, to be honest. And it's a pity that people miss it just because they weren't able to wrap. Just go to the portal and do it now, I would say, as a call to action, right? And participate on DeFi on Flare. And okay, when it comes next to the tracker and the DeFi tracker, because obviously it seems that you guys are using this because it solved problems that you actually had navigating the DeFi ecosystem on Flare, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we were doing like operations, and I had to keep like a mental note of what was going on, and that was very hard to figure out. So then we started by having like a liquidity pool tracker where I can put when I open the pool, what was my initial value, and then via screenshots and everything, you keep tracking of how many days, how many fees. So I haven't updated this since yesterday, but this pool, I had $139. My P&L from when I open it is $39 because the price of Flare went up. In 23 days, I'm making a 82% per year.
Okay, but
return.
this is something that I want to understand deeper, because this kind of information, for instance, if I go to Spardex, I can imagine that Kinetic or others, they do have a sort of tab, for instance, there with your rewards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is very skewed, and it can change very quickly.
Okay.
So the problem is that the farm, like all dexes, they only give you the information for the last 24 hours.
Right.
And every 24 hours you get refreshed. So if you have if you check this on a really active day, it's going to give you a much higher APR than in a low volume day. So by doing this, by having the tracker, I can keep track exactly where I started, which I started with $100. So with the price appreciation, I have this plus the fees that I've made. I know that I'm in profit. Maybe I'm in loss, so I can keep track of how much loss I have. And then, so we had this, and then we did borrowing and lending. So I can keep track of like my S-Flare. This is the same thing that you're seeing here. So I can just keep track of how much money I have borrowed, how much money I have lent. And then for Cyclo, which I don't want to get into like the complexity of it, but you can keep track of each position and know how much profit you have made. And then if you buy more tokens with the leverage money, for example, in this case, I can keep track exactly of where I am, how much I have made. We have the wallets, which this is a very interesting thing because like you can tell exactly what assets you have on each wallet. And this is just like a good organization skill. And then you could go to the profit strategy. And then for each asset, you would say, okay, I want to sell 10% at this price, 25% at this price. Like, this is just an example. I'm not saying that this is what you should do,
Right.
but this just gives you the information where you know exactly how many tokens you're going to have left, what's your total profit, so on and so on. So it's just like a good way to have information. And coming back to what we were talking about, working on a desktop, the more information you have, the easier it is to make decisions, because you're visualizing your decisions. So like, you open a pool and then the price goes down, and then you can see exactly how much down you are and what happened, and you have a track of what's been going on throughout time. So in my experience, this has changed completely my experience of doing DeFi, because I actually see my decisions.
Right.
Mhm.
And especially if you're, I mean, no matter what flavor of DeFi you're in, this is extremely important. Like for me, I tend to dabble in the LPs quite a bit. I like to actively update how my LPs are performing. So, whether it's a fee check, like, okay, it's halfway through the week, I've earned X amount of, dollars in fees. I like to update that so I can get a better understanding of how that particular position is performing. And in previous trackers, it was kind of difficult to do, especially if they didn't support the token that you were LPing, right? So we wanted to build a more comprehensive solution that kind of encompassed everything, not just, obviously we're Flare centric, but we're also very welcoming to other assets as well.
One of the latest features that we implemented was the ability to add new networks and new tokens. So if I say network, and if it's not here, you can create a submit request. And then the next thing that I need to work on is to add new DEXs and new borrowing and lending platforms. So in theory, by participation of the community, this could be like a all crypto tool for every need, for every chain, for everything. It just needs time to populate, but that's a very interesting upgrade we just did this week.
Interesting. In the meantime, guys, I've been analyzing the chats. As a reminder, we are live on X, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn, and we're getting some questions from different sources. So there is one by Rinel on YouTube. Will we be able to earn staking rewards from Flare on Coinbase? To be honest, I haven't checked that out. When it comes to exchanges, I'm not a big user. Sometimes I use Kraken, and on Kraken, I know that you can have very decent APRs, but of course, nothing is going to be compared with the, if you do it yourself with delegating or applying DeFi strategies. Are you guys utilizing Coinbase or any centralized exchange for any type of operations with Flare?
Not I. I mean, not your
No.
keys, not your crypto. I mean, that's the rule. So, at minimum, I would have swapped to an Oxenflow wallet. Like that. That would be the best option for somebody who wants to just earn some money, stake it. Oxenflow is automated. Boom, beautiful. It's easy. That's my suggestion. But no, I
Yeah.
don't mess with exchanges.
Yeah.
So
and,
I'll go ahead.
Yeah, on top of what Steven said, any APR that a exchange is offering is pennies compared to what you could earn if you were to do the operations yourself. And,
Five.
right, like I'd much rather, go that route than trust my assets in the safety of a centralized exchange. That's just me. Not everybody operates that way, which is totally understandable. But
Yeah.
that would be my suggestion.
So
Yeah,
here I found what I was trying to find. On Uphold, you can stake your Flare, which is basically what we were talking about, wrapping and delegating. They're giving you 5.35% per year. And this is the liquid staking. This is offering you a 48%. So let's say that it's not
almost
48,
a
that it's
10x.
40%. That's 10x the returns
Right.
just by like owning your own wallet and wrapping it. Like, you don't have to do anything else. Like, literally, you can
Right.
watch a 2-minute video, do it, and like literally you're like giving so much money to the exchanges. So I mean, my only take is take the time to learn these basics. Like, if you don't want to spend hours on crypto, at least take the minutes to take the basic learning, because with XRP it's going to be the same story. Like, if you do it through them, you're going to get 2%, and if you do it yourself, it's going to be for sure higher than the exchanges.
It's actually kind of
Yeah, I
laughable,
mean,
but yeah.
I mean, some people they like I'm gonna be honest with you. When I just started in crypto like years ago, the first year I mostly used like centralized exchanges and the staking there and whatever. And I think it kind of makes sense if you're just getting started, and it's fine if you want to keep your money there, knowing what are the risks and the rewards and everything. And I think that compared to Uphold, I think that Kraken offers a higher yield though for Flare. I think it's of the order of yeah, you can check that out live. Good, good. Help me out with that. In the meantime, I just want to quickly address another question from Clovernomics. Love the whole Flare network. Big fan in general. A question I have: why on these network apps is it a secret to see the transactions and progress on these services? I am not entirely sure what this means. I can only say that, the information displayed on the user interface sometimes can have any sort of delays, or they might not be showing everything you want. But if you really want to know everything, you can always go to the Explorer, right? So you will find the contract information, you can provide your wallet there, and you will see everything that is happening in the background. There are no ways to cheat on blockchain, right? Oh, and I can see now Kraken offers 40% APR. That's quite high.
30 to 40. So yeah, like they're scheming much less than Uphold is for sure.
Uphold's
Yeah.
cashing in right now. I just saw a question of the website for the tracker. So it is defitracker.flareforward.com, or you can go to flareforward.com and access it from there. So we got 2 access points. Well, if you want to pull one of them up, the simpler one, yeah, flareforward.com, very simple for people to access it. And this is all of our kind of one-on-one content about DeFi, helping people basically understand it, and a bunch of other stuff we do at Flare Forward for the community.
So yeah, here you go to Flare Forward, and then here you launch the tracker, and then you can sign up or log in if you're already a user.
There is another question though. How do you feel about Doppler finance? I think that particularly on my case and Sarah's case, we're in a tough position to comment on this. I can
I got you.
only say that we are going to provide a different kind of solution on Flare for F assets. So guys, I think that you probably are more free, Steven. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, again, we talked to Doppler Finance guys. I think they're building a very, very interesting product. There's not a whole lot that I would say, but the thing that makes me so much, the gap difference is the security, right? It's a bad product. The thing that Flare is building is a lot more secure for people to use. So that's the biggest gap difference, I think, between two. They're going to offer a good product. They're going to have some users. Whether or not it sticks long-term, not sure, but it's going to have some good use cases. But you'll see, in my opinion, you're going to see Flare do so much better because of its security approach.
Yeah.
So yeah, one difference is that Doppler, you're depositing your XRP on their account, and then you're trusting that that's one day they're going to give it back. And as of right now, there hasn't been any proof that they wouldn't, but there's still some trust element that you need to fill. And with Flare, what's happening is that you're using the whole consensus of Flare to lock and unlock the XRP on the XRP ledger. So you don't have to trust any one person. As long as the rules of the contract are fulfilled, you can lock or unlock your XRP. So that trustless element and having a completely self-custodial control of my assets, like for me, that's non-negotiable.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be several different products out there that come online as XRP-Fi really becomes a thing across the industry. In my opinion, it's whatever floats your boat. Everybody's going to have something different that they prefer over the other. I would just say understand the risks, understand how things work, and understand whether or not that product will fit for you. If it does, great. If it doesn't, that's great too.
I would say remember FTX.
Good point, Steven. Good point.
That's what I would remind everybody.
The first rule of Fight Club is we do not chase yields. I think that's one of the biggest. Like if the product that you're looking for it's interests you and you have your reasons, by any means, go for it. But just going for the highest APR product, like that's the easiest way to get burned in DeFi. So don't chase yields. Start small, get comfortable, and like everything, this is a process that you do it, and the more you do it, the more comfortable you feel, and you can progress. Don't make big mistakes just because you're clicking buttons that you don't
I'm not
understand.
gonna say,
Absolutely.
but oh wait, it's backwards. Anyway,
You, good try. Good try.
I will say one thing. I'm just gonna reiterate what Hugo spoke about on today's X Space with Centaura, which is it's like a preferred way of doing things is the way that Flare is approaching it, which is like getting your yield in a decentralized way. You're not gonna be giving your yield through other ways of doing it. So like Ace, what you're saying of like doing your own research and going ahead with something that is preferred to you and what you're comfortable with, I think is the main takeaway for everyone.
Absolutely.
So I think that that's a great segue into like the final piece of this Q&A session. I'm just wanting to share my screen just one final time here because I wanted to show you the Flare fair, right? So I want to know, guys, your opinion on this. Uh, how has been the experience so far?
I think it's nice to have the different dApps and the yields you can earn potentially all in one place. How to bridge, things of that nature. Especially because, bridging for the most part is considered an exotic activity in the world of crypto. So it's one that can bring a lot of anxiety if you don't know what you're doing. But to have a one-stop shop to really help you, get walk through some of those processes and get you going a lot faster has been amazing, especially when onboarding people who are not really keen on DeFi, but definitely want to start getting more familiar with that whole world of crypto.
Yeah, I would just echo what Ace says. Like, I don't use it a whole lot, obviously, because we go about it a lot different. But we think very highly of it, and it's actually on our Flare Forward site for people to easily jump to that as part of our walkthrough videos as well, where we have our walkthrough videos, and below that they can always jump into the Flare Fair, so that it's there as well. Like we think it's a great tool.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, what this website does is it shows you all the APRs on the different assets, and then it takes you to the different apps so you can participate directly, right? So for instance, here I'm
Hmm.
checking something with stable coins on Enosis, and you click and it will take you to Enosis. Here are the different liquidity pools and with the APIs, whatever, and then you can, you can decide on yourself, right? Like nobody can decide for you. This is up to you. So guys, I think that we can start wrapping up things. I don't know if you have any final words. On my end, I'm just very happy that we did this session. We covered some questions from the community. It does seems that we are all going to be looking forward to Luminite deployment, mostly because when it comes to XRP and Flare, having a wallet that is really for everyone, meaning that it's for browser, for your phone, and it has both chains and it has all the rewards, and it provides like a cutting edge user experience. It seems that Luminite is really a very good candidate. However, I do want to stress that there are traditional alternatives, including MetaMask, as we can see here, that you can utilize, right? So really, there is like no excuse here. If you take the time, you will be able to set up your wallet, get some XRP, get some Flare, and participate of these amazing rewards that they are not gonna be for all the time, right? this is
Right.
this is not going to last eternally. That's what I'm trying to say. So that would be all on my end. So I would like to see if you, Ace, Whale, Steven, and Sarah have some final words, maybe some final tips or recommendations for the people in our audience.
Yeah. We've discussed a lot of wallets, a lot of different wallets today. I just encourage you to pick one that fits your needs, and then as if you evolve as a Web3 user, then find which one fits that evolution as you continue to mature in the space. We have Oxenflow, we have Bifrost, like you mentioned, MetaMask. Just pick which one that makes sense for you and go from there. And also, don't be afraid to get your feet wet in DeFi. I know it can be a bit intimidating at first, but once you kind of get your feet wet and you start to understand what you're doing, it's a wonderful experience.
Yeah, I think one last thing I would like to say is that Flare is a great place to learn because it's really cheap to do transactions. So literally, you can bring in $10 and do your whole DeFi journey that in Ethereum you would need $10,000. So like even if you don't care about Flare, Flare is a great place to come learn, and the dynamics of doing DeFi is exactly the same on Base, on Arbitrum, on Ethereum, on Sui. Like if you master DeFi here, you can literally go to any other chain and within 10 minutes like do any kind of DeFi. So that's one thing that I keep telling people. Like Flare is a great place to learn DeFi because it's cheap, it's fast, and like you can go, little capital can go long ways.
Yeah, I mean, I would leave it like I mean, they've covered it all. I mean, the biggest thing is that I'm super excited about the future for Flare and what's going on. The biggest thing I can say is, I mean, I like we did the survey and a lot of people use multiple wallets. I mean, I highly recommend you try our tool. It's free, doesn't cost anything, and you can keep an idea of what you got going on in your wallets. And I'm being 100% serious when I reached out to Will and I said, dude, I cannot believe how much crypto I have. Like, you just don't know until you've actually tallied it all up. So it's a very, very unique process and quite rewarding. The endorphins are quite fun too when you see all the green candles and stuff like that. Not gonna lie.
Absolutely. And Sarah,
Yeah, no,
some
I think
final
everyone
words?
pretty much said everything. Only thing I'll add on to that is as you're learning, don't be shy to reach out to people. I think the guys that we have on the call here have shown that they're always ready to answer questions. We see in the chat like other community members answering other people's messages, sharing links with them. If ever you're shy to ask a question, like just make another account with an anonymous name. I don't think anyone here really knows each other's like full legal names or like where they're from and stuff. So definitely don't shy away from asking questions because, well, as we could see, like knowledge is power and it leads to great opportunities within Flare and within DeFi that you'd be remiss not to capitalize on those. So yeah, well, I think I have to add. If not, this has been a really great live stream, some really great questions and great company as well.
Yeah, great company, great question, great people. Thank you so much for everyone who joined in today. Make sure you share this with others and invite people to participate on the Flare ecosystem. Like Will mentioned, this is a great place also to learn, just to learn, right? As you can see from this live stream, there are a bunch of very interesting opportunities. But on top of that, learning something is very valuable. So make sure you bridge to Flare, you create your wallet, and you participate in our ecosystem. So thank you so much, guys. Nothing else to add on my end. I'll see you tomorrow. We have another live stream for the Flare Forge week. It's been very exciting, and I wish you the best during the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye bye.
Peace.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Victor.